please keep it going because you have a real star in your midst. Come on.
Hey, I like your energy. Thank you. So I sit over here. Thank you. What a great pleasure to be here today.
Now, Your Excellency, you're wearing a very nice, warm smile on your face. And it's not just because you're pleased to see me, although I know you are.
Of course I am.
I suspect it's also because when you hear yourself reflected in this way, your achievements, does it not make you feel proud?
Yes, indeed. But before I start, if you just allow me, I would like to say a few words in Arabic, so in case you need translation. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
In the name of God, most gracious, most compassionate, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, a very good evening to you all. First of all, I would like to extend it to Sheikh Manal bint Rashid Al Maktoum, the chairperson of Dubai Council for Equality Between the Genders and the chairperson of Dubai Women Council and the Women's Global Forum in Dubai. I would like to extend my gratitude and thanks and congratulations for this great organization of this great conference. I would also like to thank Muna Al-Mirri and the task force working with her who have spent a great efforts to organize this forum, and also thanks to Clara Guimart, the head of the participating forum, and Jacqueline Franjou, the CEO of the participating forum. And I participated in this forum in Deauville always, and with Muna and another group of UAE ladies, and we're always pleased to attend it. And I have one of the most happiest people, and I'm very pleased that this forum is now in Dubai. So thank you all.
Thank you very much. Now, in all of that, I only understood, I think, 3 words. You said shukran. I know that means thank you. I think you said Jacqueline Franjou,
yes,
who runs the Women's Forum.
Yes, and Clara Guimard as well. And
that's
I'm thanking the partners in this magnificent. I used to attend this in Deauville before.
Yes, indeed.
And it was really one of the highlights throughout the year that we look forward to every October to go there. And I am so elated that finally we have it here in Dubai. So thank you for all the team.
Beautiful. Thank you very much indeed. Now, you have held 4 ministerial portfolios. The current one was for me very surprising because it's one thing to be a minister of trade and international development, cooperation, but now tolerance. In the last 2 weeks, Minister of State for Tolerance. I've never heard of this before. What exactly does it mean? What does it represent for the UAE?
First of all, if we all think of cabinet of ministers, what is the role of the government? Pretty much an outreach to serve the public. So for all of us, when you think about a Ministry of Social Affairs, if you look at education, if you look at health, all of these are serving the public in different sectors. So they are service ministries. On the other side, there are ministries that actually play the role internationally, such as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Economy, Foreign Trade, and with economy also, you talk about policy making. So policy making, service the public. And then you have 2 new odd ministries, actually, happiness and tolerance. Yeah. And there's a very strong coupling and a relationship between the 2. These are values. They're not services, they are values. And value is an integral part of all of us. It actually is within our entity. Why would the UAE decide on these 2 aspects? I will focus on tolerance. Because the United Arab Emirates is a great example of enacting on tolerance. If you look at the society with the diversity of people, the different nationalities, and you talk about the gender, if you talk about the multidisciplines that exist in here, if you look at all across the weave of the society, you'll find that everything reflects tolerance. Tolerance, in other words, sometimes people look at it in a very odd way in the way they interpret tolerance, but tolerance is acceptance. If you look up the word itself, it is acceptance. It is rejoicing and respecting differences. So where would that be? Are you talking about gender? Are you talking about children? Are you talking about a way of life?
Well, this is it, because
are you talking about nationalities?
Yes. Yeah. You can measure trade,
Yeah.
you can measure international development, you can even sometimes measure gender relations by statistics. How on earth do you measure tolerance?
Tolerance like happiness. How do you measure happiness? These two means that you always have to be interactive with the community and also with the region and internationally, understanding what are the measures, how would you look at policies, where would you enact some of these policies of regulation to reinforce tolerance. So it is a challenging job, but it's a very exciting because I have to think out of the box. It's not your norm. All the ministries that I had before was pretty much structured. I have to think about a certain business model. This one, I'll have to reach out to everyone, all the community, not only locally but internationally as well, to find out how they actually define, how do they look at tolerance, what it means to them. So I think it's an exciting ministry, and hopefully we will see great results of this.
Well, that's it, because if you look at the league tables, if you look at the polls of the happiest countries in the world, they tend to be the Scandinavian countries.
UAE too.
Ah, okay.
We are on the-
yes,
we are
well,
on
listen
the-
to yes, Scandinavian countries. New Zealand does very well,
Yes, yeah.
but also interestingly, Nigeria. And a lot of people say, how can Nigerians be happy? But they say, Harry, come to Lagos. We are happy, oh, we are happy. That's what they say.
Is it the
But
music? No.
well, I don't know, something about the life. So
Yeah.
why would you say people here are happy? What is it about this place?
UAE's secret is the way of life. Who you are, what you are, where you come from, it really is irrelevant. You can come from anywhere in the world, from all walk of life. But in the UAE, there is a common path for everyone. It's a land of dream. This is how I look at it. It's a land where it opens opportunities for youth, for young employees, people who dream about entrepreneurship, think about establishing business. So it's a land of opportunity, and it's so open. It's not just about us. Even when you talk about gender inequality, some people assume we're only talking about the nationals here, but we're not. We're talking about all the women in the society. It's not about the UAE per se Emiratis. We talk about everyone who lives here. And people I have seen over the years, not just first generation, but second and third now, of children of expatriate communities who live here. They're happy, their kids actually travel, study abroad, but they come back and they create marvelous and brilliant businesses here.
But so would they be counted as citizens as they might be in other parts of the world? So, for example, if my parents or grandparents had come here and I were born here, the way I was born in the UK, I'm a British citizen as well as a Ghanaian, could I be a UAE citizen?
We are people of the UAE. We don't start looking at whether you are an expatriate or a citizen. We look at all of ourselves that we are people who contribute to the growth of the economy, and everyone wins. We all make good progress for ourselves, and we all achieve. And that's really the essence of what the society is all about.
Okay.
And we learn. I mean, there's so much to learn out of the society and the community here.
Excellent. Now, that's the internal mission. What about the external mission? Because, of course, previously you've been a Minister for International
We'll
Development.
talk about it maybe next conference.
Sorry?
We'll have a sequence to this. We'll have it in the next conference. So we'd have had results and achievements.
Well,
and
indeed,
we can
I'm
talk
looking
about
forward
it.
to that. Please invite me back. I will happily come. Only 6 hours from London. Very easy. With your excellent Emirates airline. But, yeah, very good. Oh, business class, very good. Oh, very good, very good. Much better than BA. But anyway, it's true. I'm going to tell them when I get back. But so we've got the internal mission, but what about the external mission? International development and cooperation. Because there are lots of countries that want to spend 0.7% of their GDP on so-called development assistance, aid. But you have gone way beyond that. Now, what is that about?
The UAE has always been generous in terms of reaching out. And I want to go back in history and talk a little bit about the establishment of the Federation of the United Arab Emirates. Our founding father, late Sheikh Zayed, started this notion or thinking about the idea of this federation, but few months before that, believe it or not. Now, when you think about you're creating a federation, and what would be, and the oil was just one, the path of discovery, what would be the first thing you want to do? You want to develop your nation, you want to offer them education, health, you want to spend on them. The first organization that was actually established even prior to the Federation was the Abu Dhabi Development Fund. The Abu Dhabi Development Fund was a huge political statement by late Sheikh Zayed to say that today we don't only look after ourselves, we are here to reach out for other countries and help without looking at race, religion, or any background. We are responsible not just for ourselves or our nation, but we are responsible for other countries. That in itself resonates in the principal value of the United Arab Emirates, that we are a nation that likes to help, likes to support and deliver aid to other countries and be generous. The UAE historically has been a country of contribution in foreign aid. 85% of our contribution actually sits within development. What that means that you have humanitarian aid and you have development programs. Development programs are sustainable. It is a program where you want to support and assist countries towards standing on their feet, where after that they can be eligible to attract other countries to come and help to develop the country and create growth. So for us, the long-term assistance is very, very important, very crucial, and is a priority in our policy for foreign aid. The other part of it is, of course, humanitarian aid, and we've been through a turbulent region. So we've reached out, and we have several scenarios in Syria as well as in Yemen, helping out our brothers and sisters there. But yes, definitely the UAE historically has always been a generous nation and had helped out. What was interesting is we never recorded until 2009, where we volunteered through the DAC organization of the OECD to say that we are not member of the OECD. But we opted to actually deliver data from the NGOs and the government assistance for other countries.
Was that because you felt pressure to measure and track how effective what you were doing was? Because when you're giving billions of dollars or dirham,
when 44 years, we are talking about almost 47 billion US dollars throughout 44 years of the UAE in terms of help. And this is across over 120 countries. It's interesting that you say that, because when you think about the UAE and the programs that we have over 43 NGOs, local NGOs here that reach out and help. And that also you have the government that helps and the Abu Dhabi Development Fund. We started to collect the numbers in 2009 for the first time. And a lot of learning, a lot of assistance we received from the OECD DAC at that time, and the technicality and the support on how we measure and how we collect the data and document it. In addition, of course, we opted to report to the UN, the FTS, which is very, very important. These are the eligible amount of donations. Sometimes you can help countries, but if they're not eligible countries for donation, it does not reflect on the report itself. But since 2009, we started to build even documents and reports reflecting on the different sectors where we helped, regions, and which area of interest that we have in helping out. And 2013, because we started to consolidate data and be really articulate about the accuracy of it, and also about impact and effectiveness, which is it's the hard core of the UAE policy for development and humanitarian aid. Effectiveness and impact. How do you actually deliver aid to other countries where it makes an impact on these countries? How do you measure? And in 2013, we ranked countries worldwide, exceeding the Scandinavian countries that way, to be as #1 most generous nation per gross national income, which is very important, by the way.
People want to recognize that. But one thing I need to ask,
because people would say, well, the US actually is very generous, $30 billion a year. But it's the ratio of your income, how much of it you give out. And that's where the ranking comes up. So it's not about how much money you give, it's how much money of your, how generous you are of your total money based on income of the country. So that's why the number had exceeded 0.7 to be in 2013, 1.34, and in 2014, 1.26.
So it almost doubled the target of 0.7%. But I was wondering, it's one thing for ministers and leaders to want to give back as a country to other nations that are struggling, but what about the people? the ordinary Emiratis and the people of Dubai and United Arab Emirates. Because in some countries which are very generous, the ordinary everyday people often say, but charity begins at home. If you go down the streets of Copenhagen or Paris or London or Washington, you will find people in need. Why are we giving so much money to Sudan or giving money to Syria when we have problems here? Do people say that in Dubai or in UAE, or do they understand?
There are social development programs that exist already in the UAE. But henceforth, this is not a program that becomes part of the humanitarian aid. We're talking about foreign aid. What happens internally is something that we do all the time, but it's part of the scheme and part of the strategy of the UAE, where we reach out to remote areas here, for example. But it's not about giving handouts or money. For us, the programs here are different. We start by looking at developing projects in remote areas. What you want is to keep the youth, people who are working and employment in the remote areas. You don't want, I mean, typically in the demographics of country, everybody wants to come to the city. But for us, keeping out a lot of these development programs in the Northern Emirates and also in remote areas by creating great projects for them as well. So that's not considered when you look at the numbers. Also, I want to clarify, countries per se, when it comes to definition, whether they are eligible for donation or not, it's the income per capita of $10,000 and below.
Yeah.
So countries, the challenge sometimes is the countries on the borderline. You know, you're just jumping at 10,000 income per capita, or a little bit low and then going up. This becomes a challenging moment for a lot of countries when they are actually at the cusp. How do you sustain or continue to help them out? You want them to stand on their feet. You want them to have projects. You want to encourage investments as well. So for us, it's not just about it is not just about the NGOs that say as an organization, but also driving the private sector to be participant in this.
Isn't it? Because
and innovation is key in this aspect. But you were talking about people. People here actually had been involved in several initiatives. I will mention a couple. One is Suqya al-Imarat, we're reaching out, we're delivering clean water with sanitation to reach out. And this was a telethon. And there was a lot of money, millions of dollars that was collected by people. The people actually wanted to be part of that. People help out. Recently on Yemen, there was a telethon in Yemen. And again, there was a reach out program, and the community itself actually helped. But the brilliant one is the one outside. When I walked in yesterday for the first time coming in, there was a nice, very smart, brilliant initiative of Al-Manan initiative for people who would, I think there was a pledge of 5 dirhams for every walk of people. 5 minutes? 5 steps, yeah. For every 5 steps, there'd be a donation of money. This is brilliant. I mean, this is what it is. This is where you engage the community, even in a marvelous conference like this. And I thought it was a really creative idea to bring it up in this conference.
Tremendous. Well, that's, I suppose, ask you now about your personal mission, Your Excellency. Why you feel personally motivated as someone who's done so well to give back here in the region, more broadly. I'm just wondering where that comes from, the instinct to give back.
Let me start by a common statement that people, whoever had worked for me, would know this for sure. On my first day of any organization, everybody will be informed that the seat I sit on in this organization is not mine. I don't own it. And someone else will sit on it. That's my rule number 1. Second, I also tell them that within 3 years, they should understand that I will be the most dispensable person, and that's a reflection of my delivery. If I sat there with this hanging power in my head saying that this is my seat and this is my power, then there's definitely something wrong with my essence or philosophy of leadership. A strong leader is a leader that can give a lot and give to others. Whatever you learn has to be recycled, has to be given to other people as well. And in this learning, most important part, thank you, most important part is to make clear to everyone that you are the most dispensable person, not the most powerful where you actually frighten people. You are dispensable because you want the place to run based on their capacity, on their capability, on their excellence. So what does that equate to? What does it translate to? That translates to a lot of hard work of making sure that you build capacity, you build leadership, you build communication, people understand the culture, they should be supportive of one another, and then they have a clear agenda of strategy for the organization and KPIs. And it's all about the organization, it's not about them. It really is. And this is something I always say, that if there's any issue or problem, my famous statement is, put it on the table. It is not your issue. We can all be friends outside, but this is an issue we should all solve, because at the end of the day, we are accountable. And we are here to serve and to help, whether it's a private sector or whether it's in the government.
Now, they say, yes, thank you very much. There's a very famous quote, many people will know it. It is, to educate a man is to educate an individual. But to educate a woman is to educate the whole community. Is that partly what drives you?
Women by nature are nurturers. They look after families. It's innate. And I think it starts from the focal point of the family, looking after children, husband, but also not only siblings, but looking into their families, sisters, brothers, mothers, fathers. They also look into the community of their neighbors. You see them in school as well. When there's any activities, you see a lot of when it comes to parents' council, see the mothers being so engaging and involved. So it's the maternal nature of women to look after a community. And that actually reminds me that in some parts, when I work in any entity, I'd probably be one of the people who would know not only the employees, but their families and their background. And I still remember vividly when I worked in Dubai, a story about my chief technology officer. I was running an e-commerce platform, and we came across a disaster where the infrastructure of the platform actually stopped. And we have live bidding on it, which means that we are liable for millions of dirhams. And I remember that he was really focused on working on the issue, and it's very complex, and we had a team. And casually he said, he's from India, he said, Madam, when I'm done, if you allow me, when he thinks in 2-3 days, I would like to go to India. My mother is in the intensive care. So I looked at him and I closed the door and I said, Radha, you're leaving this afternoon to see your mom. And we can communicate with you. We have all the communication, telephones, computers, everything. We can connect with you. You sit there and be the boss. The team is here and we will solve it. But I will not forgive myself if your mother's in the ICU and I'm sitting here with you. So he left. And it was very odd. I thought it was a big burden, but it's a decision as a CEO of a company. What decision matters to you?
Yeah.
And to me, being there with his mother was more important, regardless of the infrastructure disaster I had, that there would be other people who'd solve. And if I didn't build the organization to do that, then I have failed. He went there, he spent 2 weeks with her, and then she got out of the hospital, and then he got back. A week later or 2, she passed away. So I told him, I'm really sorry, would you like to go? And he said, no. I said goodbye to her when I was there.
He was there.
And you know what? He's the most loyal employee till today. I'm talking about 2002.
Yeah.
We are 2016.
Yeah.
But building loyalty with people is about values, it's about essence, who you are, and for people to really see through you as an authentic person, someone that they respect because you're a human being. That really what matters. You work in an organization, people will forget about the work, but they will always remember you as an individual. Whether you are kind, whether you are reachable, whether you are modest, you can sit and talk to them. And that's really the essence of any job you're in. That's what remains with you. And this is the part of your reputation as you leave organization, move into another one.
Mm-hmm. Your Excellency, I've had a lot of bosses, both male and female bosses, and I struggle to think of any who would have done what you did.
I'm a tough boss, by the way.
Are you
can
tough?
Ask. Yes, I'm tough.
I'm looking
Everything
at your
to me
employees. Are they here? They're hiding their heads.
Yeah, they're tough. I'm compassionate, but I'm tough. They know for me delivery is priority.
Would you say you had a tough upbringing, or was it very, very warm, very nurturing? I mean, you can have both a tough upbringing, but also one that's warm and nurturing. What was yours like, and how much of that is still with you and driving how you interact with your employees and others?
I grew up in a house where both parents were quite open. And I think as girls, we were quite supported by my late father. And that in itself, I think, sometimes is an essence with girls. But I was a science student, so I was a complete geek. To me, at the age of 12, I came home, told my mom that I just understood life, and she said, why? I said, we started learning physics. And for the life of her, she didn't know what I meant. What is
I bet
physics?
she wanted to run away.
Yeah, but it was like, why would physics as a science would be something to make you realize what life is all about? But I used to solve the differential equation when I get bored at the age of 17. So I was, extremely into my books, and I actually aced all my classes, went to the US to study. But the challenge was always that we actually live a sheltered life. We live in a very protective environment, especially the girls. I'm talking about 1975 when I was eligible for a scholarship and I could go study medicine. I said, no, I cannot be a doctor. I'm not a good doctor. But I would like to be a computer engineer. And everyone said, what do you mean a computer engineer? I was 17 then. And it was something that no one ever heard about. But I wanted to. And my dream was actually to go to the US eventually. It took a lot of convincing from my brothers to my parents to say, well, it's okay, let her go. But when I was in the UK, I stayed with a British family. So as long as I was within a family environment, it was okay by my parents. And then eventually I went to the US and probably was one of the first computer engineers in system architecture and operating system design coming back here. But I was with the boys, I was not with the girls.
Oh, right, okay.
I think I softened up as I grew older, but at that time I was a very strong geek with math
Thank goodness for that. I'm interested in the fact that, you've studied in the UK, the US, in Korea, I think, as well. Korean
Japan.
Republic. In Japan.
Japan, yeah. The 3 months in 1991, I was doing technology management at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, you could have stayed abroad like many people do, but you decided to come back, to give back. Why was that? Why did you decide to come back home?
Well, first of all, I owe it to my country and to the leaders here that we were given. If you think of the 70s, I'm the generation before. What we were given is extraordinary. I don't think many can get that kind of opportunity anywhere else. So to me, it was just the little that I can give back to the society, to the leaders, to the government. And I was asked one time, I had an American engineer working at Dubai ports, and he said, you could have stayed in the States and really made good money. I said, well, in the US, there are millions of people, but here I'm very special because it's a small nation. Whatever I do, I'll be famous.
Fantastic.
And then I asked him, I said, but what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be in the US working?
Very good point, very good point.
But the point is the opportunities that's given to us. And when I came back, I had job offers here. And again, with my stubborn nature, I decided to go and work for an Indian company because software development was unknown to a lot of the organizations. And I didn't want a government job. So my salary was 5,000 dirhams. It's about $1,200 a month. I worked from 8 o'clock in the morning, and I could not leave before 8, sometimes 10 in the evening. So I was really cranking up numbers and coding at that time. But it was the best experience I've ever had. But it was exclusively all Indian engineers that I worked with my first year.
Tremendous. Your Excellency, if you look at the clock, we've got just 40 seconds left, and I know you've got another appointment somewhere else. How would you send away the people here, primarily the women? What pearls of wisdom do you have to inspire them to go away and to be great and to blaze a trail? And you have 25 seconds.
Most important part, and we heard it from Christine Lagarde yesterday, faith in yourself, beliefs. I think your belief in yourself. I was in a time where there were no other engineers in computer science. So there was a path that I didn't get role models in technology or engineering. So to me, have faith in yourself and the doors will open for you. And I think whether it's here or anywhere else, if people see that through, that confidence that comes out of you because you are confident and you have faith in what you want to do, I think all doors are open.
Your Excellency, Sheikha Lubna Al-Qasimi, Minister of State for Tolerance and President of Zayed University. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.